What's up, everybody, and welcome to another Seven Figure Photographer Live. It is a Monday, as always. We always do these on Mondays. I don't know why I always announce it, but I do. So, welcome. I hope you guys are all having a wonderful October. We are halfway through, literally halfway through today. I'm not going to lie, I feel more like relaxed this year, I think, than I've ever felt, but we're still slam packed with sessions. And I think that that's a great thing. But ultimately, I guess it's probably just because I've been, enjoying my time a little bit. I got to go fishing 3 times this weekend, which was probably a little bit of overkill, but it is what it is. So today, I wanted to talk about pricing your photography because ultimately I've had a couple of people make some comments, question about it, and I'm finding more and more that a lot of photographers who are well established and doing great in business don't have a good concept of price, but they don't know why or how they have their stuff priced that way. So today, that's what we're going to talk about. Before we do that, we're going to jump in to a quick introduction, and then we'll be right back. What's up, guys? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sam Marvin, and I have been in the photography industry for 25 plus years. While I love being a creative, business is my passion, and elevating the industry of photography is my... I created the Seven Figure Photography.
That's amazing.
Okay, we are back, and I don't know what's going on, but apparently our stream is struggling. We're going to keep going because ultimately this should hopefully record and everybody will get a chance to see it. Today we did it a little bit different just because I've got a lot going on, enough that I'm a little bit like I almost just didn't do a live today because it is busy time, and I was like, what an excuse, but it's just an excuse. So I decided I better do it. But ultimately, I'm excited about the topic, and I thought, why not talk about this topic? Because it's easy. It's something that I can easily and passionately do, and I think that it's simple to get that message across because I have some pretty good systems for how I do that. I've got some slides to share with you guys today. Here's the first slide, ultimately. But as we go through, I'll kind of show you some of these things because we do have some like equations and stuff to talk about. But ultimately, I'm going to try to make this as simple and as smooth as possible. Now, for those of you who are joining us, please make sure to just comment or say your name, where you're watching from, or just let us know. We do have the comment section if you want to chat or say something that I can respond to. Make sure to do that over on the side. Now, if you're joining this from one of the links that were sent, or if you're joining it on your phone and you can't comment, make sure to go into the actual YouTube app and log in so that we can see that you're here, like Craig Lee from Sodak. Welcome, Craig. But anyway, that way you can actually comment and we can reply to those comments, or I'm the only one here. It's empty in the office today. So let's jump in and let's talk about these things because ultimately I think that these are really important things. And, I don't know why I hit that button. I find myself in some really interesting scenarios. And I know that many of you guys run into these scenarios where you maybe just feel like you're kind of tapped out, like your clients aren't going to spend more than what you offer. They're like, you get into these situations. Now, this week, or actually last week, I had 2 sales that were kind of up around the $8,000 to $10,000 or $13,000 range. And I realized something really unique in these situations. And I think that the reason I'm telling you this is because ultimately you can apply this kind of back down in reverse. I had hit a plateau where I really didn't have anything more to sell my client. Now, this is going to happen in a number of situations. Number one, you just get really good at selling what you sell. Or number 2, you just don't have enough different variations of what you're doing, or you don't have your pricing set up properly to identify this. So first and foremost, the one thing that we're going to want to do is identify what does it really cost us to run our business. Now, this is what I really focus on is your cost of doing business per hour, okay? Now, this is really just a way to identify that if I'm working 40 hours a week, I need to be generating 40 hours at my cost of doing business per hour. Now that includes my salary. I'm going to show you a little diagram or a little, well, let's just jump to it. I'm going to show you this page. And what this is this just kind of gives you an idea of how to determine your cost of doing business per hour. Now, why does it matter? Why is it important to have your cost of doing business per hour? Well, if you don't know what it actually costs to run your business, then how are you going to price the products that you're selling? And all too often, we just put numbers to the prices because we price them based on, oh, I think that nobody would ever spend more than this. Okay. And that is 100% false. I'm just going to tell you that right now. There are people in your area that will spend a whole lot more than you ever would think. You are not your customer. There's all sorts of things I can tell you that are absolutely going to demolish what you believe about what your pricing and your customers think. Because without question, there are customers in your area that will spend ungodly amounts of money on pictures. You just have to find the right people, okay? Maybe the people you're selling to won't spend that money, or maybe you just haven't figured out how to price it properly for that. So we're going to start from the beginning. So the cost of doing business per hour is based on your total expenses for the year. So what are all of your expenses for the year? You can even include your taxes, everything, or just take those. Just be consistent about how you do it. If you're taking them all off the top, figure it out without that. And that'll obviously, because that doesn't actually go into your pricing. That's something that's added on at the end. But ultimately, figure it consistently. So your total expenses and your desired yearly salary. Okay, so if your yearly expenses are $50,000 and your desired yearly salary is $150,000, then your total on top of line one is going to be $200,000, right? And then the number of weekly hours that you want to work. So let's say, for instance, you want to work 30 hours a week or 40 hours a week. 30 hours a week times 52 is 1,200. Okay, 40 hours a week times 52 is 2,080 hours a year. Take your $200,000 divided by the number of hours you want to work a week times 52, and that is your cost of doing business per hour. So as you can see, I already put this below. You can see 50,000 plus 150,000 equals 200,000 divided by 40 times 52. That's 40 hours a week times 52 equals $96 an hour. Now, if you want to work less, let's say 20 hours a week, that is just going to increase your cost of doing business per hour. If you work 60 or 80 hours a week, then it's going to decrease your cost of doing business per hour. It's still going to equal out to be the same amount. At the end of the year, you still have to generate $200,000 in sales to accommodate a $50,000 total expense and $150,000 salary. That's just how it's going to work. It just depends on how many hours you're willing to put in. So that kind of gives you an idea of your cost of doing business per hour. Why does it matter? Because ultimately, when we're identifying the price of our products, we need to know what is our time cost. And if our time is figured for our yearly salary as well as our expenses, then we can decide, okay, well, if it takes this long to create a picture, then we know that that is our base cost plus the hard cost that goes into pricing those products. I'm going to show you an easy way to do this. Now, back into it, here is the average time to complete a photo. Now, this is something that I've done over the years. I've learned as I've worked with people on determining their cost of doing business. The typical time that it takes to make a photo is typically right around 15 to 25 minutes per photo. Now, there's an easy way to identify this, and I say it's easy. There's a lot that goes into it. You want your total time per session in minutes. So let's say your session is 3 hours long, okay? That's 60, 120, 180, 180 minutes, right? But the one thing you're not accounting for is how much time did it take to get that client in the door? How much time did it take sending emails, talking to them on the phone? How much time did the sales session take? How much time did the editing process take afterwards? If you're doing all these things on your own, These are all going into your time. Now, the one thing that we've learned is typically like a senior session is going to be about 13 to 15 hours, whereas a family session might be a little bit less, but you might have a little bit more on the back end. These are all things you guys have to figure out for yourself, but ultimately look at all those things and don't leave yourself to chance. Identify all those things and figure for them. If you're talking on the phone 5 times for 10 minutes, that's 50 minutes, okay? They all add up, and all those things matter. If it takes you 30 minutes to get ready for the sales session, and it takes you 2 hours in the sales session, and then 30 minutes after to clean things up and to get data input, all that stuff, that's still 3 hours, okay? Consider those things and make sure that you put all these things in there. And then I want you to take the average number of images you sell per client. You can easily get this by looking back at all your clients and say, okay, I sold 35 images to this person, 10 images to this person. Take them all and average it out. Okay. I've done this on many situations and many occasions, and it typically boils down to about 18 minutes per image. Okay. So if we just round that out to 20 minutes, you get a really good idea. Now, if we from the last here know that it's $96 an hour to run our business, and it's taking us 20 minutes to create an image, that means that each image, if we go, let's see, 20 minutes is a third of an hour. So if we go 0.33 of 96, it means that our cost on that image just to create the image, that's not the cost of what it actually cost us to buy product for it, but that cost is $31.68. Okay? Now I know I just spewed a bunch of stuff out there. Take it with a grain of salt. Look at this. The total time to create a session or to complete a session divided by the average number of images you sold. That is your total time per image, and what percentage of your total cost of doing business per hour is that? And it's gonna range right around that $31 to $35 an hour. It's gonna be pretty similar for pretty much everybody. It's not gonna be the same. It's gonna be similar. Every one of you are gonna have different numbers. I have really high overhead. So ultimately, like my cost of doing business per hour is like $130 an hour or something like that. And I go a little, probably too much on my sessions. And so, but I also outsource some of those things. And so those things can be different. You have to consider all the different aspects, but that's the worst of it, guys. That really is the worst of it. I promise it gets easier from here. Now that we know we have a cost of doing business of roughly $100 an hour, okay? Most of you, if you're going to fall right around that $80 to $100 an hour cost of doing business, I'm just telling you that because I've been through so many of these. I know kind of roughly where they fall. Many of you guys want to work less hours, and so you'll have a higher cost of doing business per hour, but they're all going to fall pretty similarly to the same spot. Now, we're going to kind of take a break from all those equations and all that extra stuff, and we're going to look at the categories, okay? So we're going to come back to our cost to create an image, but for now, what we're going to talk about is how do you determine what to sell to your clients? Now, unfortunately, so many photographers have this belief that if I just stack a whole bunch of garbage in, it will make it look more valuable. That is 100% wrong. The more stuff you put in oftentimes leads to people feeling overwhelmed and feeling like I really didn't need all that extra stuff. And sometimes people won't ask the question, do I have to take all this stuff? Depending upon if you're doing collections or build your own, all that stuff we're going to talk about here in a second. It can have effect one way or another on people. And sometimes, yes, Craig, that is you try to throw in way too much to make it more valuable. The reality is that people actually will value it. You have to value it yourself, and you don't have to stuff it full. So we're going to talk about categories, and here's our categories. We have wall portraits, okay? You can come up with as many categories as you want, But we're going to talk about more or less what I do, and really what you could apply to just about any business. You have wall portraits. Those are pictures that go on the wall or ready to hang. Okay. That's what I tell my clients. If it's a wall portrait, it's ready to hang. You don't have to do anything more. I don't let it out of my studio unless it has a frame or some sort of way that it is ready to a finished product ready to hang on the wall. Okay. Albums. This can be a number of different things. If you guys love doing image boxes, this falls into, personally for me, it falls into my album concept. I call it an unbound album. Okay. It's all in a box. It's like 20 pages. It's just unbound. Okay. I have that for image boxes. I have small albums. I have big albums. I have albums that you can only buy once you've purchased a regular album, which I call grandparent albums. Okay. I also have my high-end albums, which are crazy, out of this world, astronomical, stupid, expensive albums that you would think that nobody buys. However, we sell them far more regularly than I expected. So albums are pretty much anything that falls into that book category. Small prints. This is where Craig excels. Selling 100 different wallets. Okay, nobody wants to do that anymore, except for you might be still doing it. Small prints, 8x10s, 5x7s, wallets, anything that is not ready to hang on the wall, or you can also call this, I actually call them gift prints or desk prints. Okay, so you can call them whatever you want, but these are your small pictures. Now, this is something that I've seen with 100 different, probably way more than 100 different photographers. The belief that we start our price list with small prints, 8x10s. What do you price an 8x10? Okay, just because people call on the phone and ask you what the cost of an 8x10 is, doesn't mean it's what you should lead with. Okay, those are gift prints. Those are prints that people give out to family. I couldn't tell you the last time I sold an 8x10 picture, other than like a finished wall portrait, 8x10 size. I just don't sell them. In fact, I price these at $200 a piece, and I straight up tell my clients, I don't want you to buy this. So I priced it at $200, and they're fine with it. Okay. Now we have cards. Cards are your graduation cards, Christmas cards, thank you cards, whatever it is, they're cards. Pretty simple. Make sure you price them well. These are one of those things you can kind of be questionable about how you price them, just because it is sending out to multiple people, but we'll talk about that in a second. Extras. Now I actually have a video that we offer, slideshows, those kinds of things. Those would be great for in your extras category. So as you can see, we have 5 categories. The reason I do this is because I want to keep it really easy. I want to be able to explain to people, I have 5 different options for purchasing. I have wall portraits, albums, small prints, cards, and our extras or videos. Sorry, I'm getting the hiccups for some reason. And I want to be able to explain it really easy and the parameters for each one of those. Okay. Always have upgrades and add-ons. For wall portraits, frames are a great add-on or a great upgrade. I start out, all my products are a standard in canvas, and then the upgrade is going to a framed print or to a metal or to whatever other option. Okay. Albums, we can add on more pages. We can add on leather cover. We can add on, we can go larger in size. There's always upgrades. Small prints, same thing. Add frames, different textures, that kind of thing. Cards increase in size, different paper types. Always have upgrades and add-ons. Simple process. Get that in your head. Okay. Next is really just I live by this. I try to live by this. However, you might be looking at me saying, Sam, you're not doing this. But I always tell people, keep it stupid simple. Okay. Keep it stupid simple. I know the saying actually goes, keep it simple, stupid. But I changed it around. I want it to be simple, stupid. Okay? Just keep it simple. The more simple it is, the easier it is for you to remember, because honestly, all this stuff is stuff that you should have memorized. I don't care if you have a pricing guide like this. This is not actually a pricing guide. I'm just holding it up for an example. I don't care if you have one of these, have every page and every product memorized. Okay? And don't give this out to your client. You can do whatever. I don't care. I'm just here to help you make money. So don't listen to me. Keep it simple. And that's really the long and the short of it. Keep it simple. And what I mean by that is in your sizing of products. For instance, with albums, I have 3 different sizes. Well, technically 4 different sizes. So keep it simple. With wall portraits, I go by the long edge, which means I have a 12-inch, an 18-inch, a 24-inch, a 36-inch, a 48, and a 60. How I price those is based on the largest size anybody could do on that. So technically a 48-inch print could be a 48 by 48. That's how I'm going to price it. And I know you're thinking, well, what about the difference in the cost by like a 20 by 48 would be so much cheaper? Well, I'm not worried about that. I'm trying to keep it simple, stupid for my clients. That's the goal. So we keep it really, really simple for them, and it makes everything easier. Now, we're going to go back into the pricing. How do we price these products? Well, I love to go by what's called the 5X rule. And what this means is that we're going to price everything. We take our cost, which is the cost to actually create it. So let's say White House Custom Color sells an 8x10 for $10 with a backing. Okay. So the hard cost, that's what we call the hard cost, is $10. But we know that it costs us $31.80 in our time cost. So that price, that product is now $41.80. Okay. That is our actual cost of the product. So that's the 1X. The actual cost of the product is $41.80. Okay. If I multiply that times 2, that's $82.80. I think so. That's what I call my cost. So nobody ever actually knows what my actual cost is, because I tell them that if I tell them, I don't tell anybody my cost. But if somebody were to dig into it and find out, well, what is your actual cost? What does it actually cost you to make this money? Well, I'm here to make a profit. So my actual cost is 2 times what my actual cost is. Okay. Which is a 50% margin, 100% markup. And that concept is really just how we figure this out. Now, the 3X, or if we really jump into it and we go backwards, we start at the retail price of 5 times that price. So $41.80 times 5 is $209. So an 8x10 really should be priced at $209. Now, you are always going to have kind of your process. Some people are 99, like everything is $3.99 or $103 or $159.99 or $59.99, $69.99, $79.99. You look at Walmart, I think everything is like $89. Okay, everybody has their systems. Everybody believes that if it's $0.99, it's not $1 more like what people think. I live by the mentality that I deal with affluent people. They don't care about the cents. So I just go round numbers. It's 100, it's 300, it's 500, it's 700, it's 1,000. I don't care about the .99 because my clients don't typically care about that either. And ultimately, it's easier for me to math stuff on the fly because you guys have seen me get messed up with math. So I also want you to understand that there is some element of comfort here. So if after applying the 5X, which makes your cost of doing or your cost of product technically 20%, which is where you should be, around that 20% rule. Okay. The cost is 20% of the total price. That means you have an 80% margin. Okay. So ultimately, my retail price is going to be my cost of $41.80 times 5. But I personally am not going to do it for $209. My model pricing structure goes by the hundreds. And so I would do it for $200. So that shows you right there, my 8x10 is $200 as a rough idea. Okay. Now, my good guy discount. Let's say that you're in a sales session and you really like these people and you want to work them a special deal for selling a ton of stuff. So you give them the good guy price and you basically take, let's see, what would that be if it's, well, you just take your cost times 4. I think that would make it, I don't know how to math that backwards. Here we are again. I'm in that dilemma. I don't know how to math it backwards. But basically 4 times your actual cost would be your good guy discount or good guy price. 3 times the actual cost would be your friends and family price. And then 2x is your cost. The idea is get to the 5x. If it costs you $100 to make an 11x14 canvas, you should be selling it. And when I say cost, I'm talking about the cost of time as well. So $31.80 to create a photo, put it on a canvas, that's another $100. It's $131.80 times 5. Oops, $131.80 times 5 should be $659. Or in my situation, I'd do it for $650 or $700. And technically that is what my 11x14 is. An 11x14 canvas or a 12x18 is $700. Okay. Doesn't mean you have to match it. I'm just simply saying that's how we get to that number, by the 5X rule. Okay. Now we have our products. We understand our cost of doing business. We understand our time, how important it is, and our expenses. Do you do the same thing with framing, 3 to 5 times on framing plus the 3 to 5x times on the print? So yes, actually. How I typically do the framing is exactly that. But of course, I'm somewhat sensitive. Like, I understand that, like, if my cost on the framing is this, now here's where I can see what you're thinking in your mind is a challenge. If you're having your stuff framed at a frame store, you're paying basically consumer price for this work. So source it in a better way or bargain for better prices. Okay. They should have something that works. And we can talk more about that, Craig, but there are ways to source that for much less. Typically they're going to be charging a consumer pricing or this kind of pricing. So yes, your customers would be cheaper for them to just buy it from you and take it down there and have it framed themselves. So you just need to decide, is that a cost I'm going to make money on? Or, for instance, if they are charging you consumer prices, then, make a small markup on it to do it for your client. Make sure that it's worth your time. If it's going to cost you an extra 3 hours of your time to take that print, drop it off, pick it up, package it, then add $300 to it. Because the actual doing of the work is not costing you anything more. Look at the actual cost on that. But obviously just be somewhat sensitive to how you're doing those things and make the best decision. There are options out there that you can get framing for significantly less than through your consumer based, like your local market. Now, if you want to support local, I absolutely give you props for that. But go talk to your frame guy and say, hey, look, I can get these way cheaper, but I really want to support local. Can you work with me on this? Because ultimately I'm going to be driving, or you can look at a way to drive clients to them. I don't know. That's something we can talk about and identify in a little bit. But that's a good question, I guess. Ultimately, let's just leave it at that for now. So now here's the next part of this. The one thing that I want you to consider is when it comes to pricing, what is your dream sale? I told you in the beginning that I kind of hit a little bit of a stall out with some of my customers this weekend. They definitely had the money to spend a lot more. They probably would have spent a lot more. But I realized that I had reached a plateau, and kind of based on how they chose things, you plan everything for trying to get to your dream sale, but do you plan for going beyond that? That's my question. So ultimately, what I would love for you to look at is, number one, what is your dream sale? If your dream sale is $10,000, how many times would you have to take last year's highest sale? How many times would you have to make it to get to your dream sale, to one client? I'm going to just throw it out there. If your best sale is $3,500, but your dream sale is $10,000, that's almost 3 times. That means you have to sell the same package to mom as you do to grandma, as you do to the other grandparents, or to divorced dad. So what can you do to create the opportunity? What do you have to sell to get to your dream sale? That's the other aspect of the pricing. I want you to look at it from that perspective. What do I need to sell to a client to get them there? Then when you go into your sales session, you should show them what a $10,000 sale looks like, or a $30,000 sale. If you've ever heard of price anchoring, that's this concept. The concept is you show them a $30,000 sale, and then let's say that they do 25%, like they cut it down by 3 times or 4 times to 25%. Okay. That's still a $7,500 sale, I think. Not a terrible sale, right? So consider that. Price anchoring is just the process of more or less shocking them with a high price so that a lower price seems okay. We've all seen on TV, as seen on TV, this product is $499, but you're not going to pay that much today. You're only going to pay 3 payments of $125, which I don't know, that didn't actually match up, but ultimately they make it look a lot cheaper, and you still end up paying kind of the same thing, or maybe a little bit less, to make yourself feel better about the fact that, when they said $499, I was like, I'm out. But now that they're saying $399 plus an extra payment of $75, I'm okay with it. I don't know. That's kind of the concept behind it. Price anchoring is something that is used every day in everything you do. You just have to know to look for it. But it is there, and it is happening. So ultimately, don't leave money on the table. If you are really, really good at selling what you're currently selling, and you're hitting a plateau every time, or you're hitting kind of your same spot every time, that's a good indicator that you're really good at selling what you have to sell, and that you're not that your clients really would buy more. So a situation I would consider in this is, if you have that expensive album that's, say, $1,000 or something like that, bring in additional product. You don't necessarily have to raise your prices. Bring in the holy crap, I can't believe you would put that in front of me album. Like, for instance, that's what we do. We have our $1,500 album. We have a $2,500 album. And then we have a $4,500 album. Okay. And it's the one that sits out on the table, and everybody opens it up and looks at it and is like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And so then that's kind of my price anchoring. Like, I tell them about that album and say, that one's $4,500, but it comes with 45 images in it. And then all of a sudden a $2,500 album seems really reasonable. Make sense? So that's something to consider. Now, last but not least is the build your own versus collection, or you can honestly do both of them in your pricing. We talked about categories. We want to have probably 5 different categories. You could even limit it. Don't pack your pricing guide so full of stuff just because you think it's going to add value. Add the value in word. So this picture, like, can you imagine having this canvas up on your wall where you're going to get to see it every day when Susie's off to college and you just miss her? I sell my videos. Like, I tell people, like, this is great for the graduation day party, value added, because they can play it at the graduation party. And I also tell them these videos are great for when Susie's off to college and you just want to have a glass of wine and cry. Value added. Okay? So, despite what you might believe about that, it is value added. So, add value with words, not with product. And that's something that will help your sales significantly. You create value by, as one of my favorites, Rachel Martin. Her words are, speak value into things. Okay. And that's really what it's about. It's just talking the value into a product. So, and you can do this by finding similarities with what people, like if you listen to people and what's important to them, you can basically align your product with why that product can add value to their life based on the things that they were just saying. Well, you just said how hard it's going to be for you once they're off to college, but imagine how great this picture is going to be on your wall to remind you every day of the 18 amazing years you had with this child. So those are the kinds of things that you can add value with words. But back to the point, build your own or collections. This is really a preference. I personally believe that collections limit people because people get stuck in this belief that, okay, well, I'm stuck in this box. Unless you're really good about upgrade options. The downfall to collections is you really have to find and you have to know very well what most people buy. Like I could tell you right now, most of my clients buy a grouping, they buy an album, and they buy a video. And then they buy grad cards. So those are the 4 things. So I could technically make a collection for that. But I'm going to have variations in the grouping. I'm going to have options with the album. And I'm going to have to start them all small or have a small collection and a big collection. And notoriously, people are going to be like, well, can I take this out of that collection? Because I really don't need that. Well, that's fine. We're just going to do a build your own. So how we do the build your own is anytime you purchase from 3 of the categories based on a certain price point, so I call it my premium price point, which is $1,000 or more, then they get a bonus or something like that, which gives them more option or opportunity. So the build your own versus collections, it's 100% up to you. I personally think the collections get you stuck in a rut, and you oftentimes will either have lower sales. You might have consistently lower sales, which consistency is not a bad thing, but you might have consistently lower sales just because they're stuck with what's offered and they're not thinking to go beyond that. And sometimes you get so stuck in your head that you don't go beyond that. Whereas the build your own, you say, okay, choose one of these. You know, I get done with my session and I say, okay, well, was the video anything that you were interested in? Oh yeah, I have to have the video. Okay, let's add that in there. And did you want to add any extra pages to the album? Okay, let's add those in. So that's why the build your own, in my opinion, is better. But there are a lot of people that would argue that the collections are stronger. There's people that have done side-by-side comparisons offering both, and they do well either way. It really just boils down to you. You just got to decide what works for you and look at it as an opportunity to grow. And you have to pay attention. That's one of my favorite things is in sales, being able to see, okay, you know, this is done well, this hasn't done well, this is done well, this hasn't done well. If it's not selling, get rid of it. Like there's no reason to have it there. So if you don't sell it at the same time, if you want to have it there just as an upgrade option or an option, that's great. if you start having people try to choose your upgrade or your lower option, then and it's not doing well, then you might be selling it wrong or something to that effect. So anyway, that is all I have for you guys. Any questions on that anybody has right off the bat? I think that's pretty much it for that. So again, just kind of a quick recap. Find your cost of doing business, which is really easily just determining your total expenses, your desired yearly salary divided by the number of hours you want to work times 52, number of hours a week that you want to work times 52. That gives you your cost of doing business. Determining your average time to complete a photo is just simply the total time per session in minutes divided by the average number of images sold, which will give you your cost, which we determine is about $31 roughly, about 18 to 20 minutes on per image. And then the categories, 5 different categories: wall portraits, albums, small prints, cards, extras. Keep it simple. And then the 5X rule, 5 times is your retail price, 4 times is your good guy price, your 3 times is your friends and family price, 2 times is your cost, and number 1 is the actual cost that you're not ever going to share with a soul. And figure out your dream sale. Identify what that is and figure out what is it going to take to sell this to get there. There's always the personality that will come in once or twice a year that's like, I don't care what it is. If it costs more, it's probably better. Sam Marvin can afford the biggest and the best, so I'm going to buy that, even though I probably don't need it. Okay? Same concept. And then don't leave money on the table. And last but not least, decide whether you're going to do a build your own package or a collection. I hope that this gives some clarity in pricing for people. It really, I think probably the number one thing that held me up the most when I was trying to really excel in my business was the pricing concept. It doesn't have to be as hard, and it's not so hard to figure it out. You just got to find somebody that will help you on it and identify. You don't have to stuff your pricing guide with a whole bunch of frou-frou crap, because ultimately, if you look through and you identify how many people bought those little accordion books, you probably gave them away for free. How many people bought the mug or the mouse pad or the t-shirt with their kid's picture on it. It might be 1s or 2s, but it's not like crazy over the top. So if it's not crazy over the top, get rid of it. Don't have it in there to clutter their mind. And guys, a little bit of confusion is okay. I know there's this belief that a confused mind doesn't purchase, but I can tell you without any question, I confuse my clients every day in the sales room, and I consistently sell large numbers in the sales room. If you know, you know, and you can do it. So a little bit of confusion is okay. Let them know. I'm going to confuse you a little bit, but that's why I'm here to help you, because I'm not going to let you walk away from here confused, and I'm going to make sure that you get the best that you can get for your money. So it's okay to confuse them a little bit. Okay, that's it. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. It's beautiful here in Idaho, and the fall colors are they're right about to burst their peak. So we're out shooting like crazy. We got sessions all week this week, and I'm not overwhelmed, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm ready for a little less shoot time and more fish time. So I hope you guys all have a wonderful week, and I will see you again right here, same place, same time. Peace out, Girl Scout.